The Galactic Naval Academy's training yard fell silent as Cadet Sarah Chen stepped into the combat ring. Around her, hundreds of alien cadets from dozens of species whispered in their native tongues, their voices carrying the same dismissive tone she'd grown accustomed to over the past year. "Look at the tiny Deathworlder," chittered Zextai, a mantis-like threekreen whose razor-sharp limbs could slice through steel. "She can barely reach my thorax." Vorth, a massive crystalline being from the high-gravity world of Kepler 442b, rumbled his agreement. His species had evolved in conditions that would crush most organics, yet even he sneered at the human's diminutive frame. "The fragile little thing will shatter like glass." Sarah ignored their taunts, flexing her fingers as she studied her opponent across the ring. Champion Kuldar of the Vorthak Empire stood nearly 3 meters tall, his obsidian carapace gleaming under the artificial suns. Forearms ending in bone spurs jutted from his torso, while his digitigrade legs, thick as tree trunks, had carried him through 17 consecutive victories in the Academy's combat trials. "This is barbaric," muttered Professor Yilnara, the Academy's xenobiology instructor. Her ethereal, jellyfish-like form pulsed with bioluminescent concern. "The human child requested this challenge, but she cannot possibly comprehend what she faces." Kuldar's people evolved on a world where survival meant constant warfare against megafauna. Commandant Thexmore, a veteran Turian officer whose cybernetic implants had replaced half his skull during the Proxima conflict, nodded grimly. "The human insists on proving herself. We've tried to dissuade her, but their species has this peculiar stubbornness." In the year since humanity had joined the Galactic Federation, their representatives had been met with polite condescension. Earth was classified as a Class 1 death world, hostile certainly, but nothing compared to the hellscapes that had forged species like the Vorthak or the radiation-soaked nightmare realms of the Kepler colonies. Humans were seen as scrappy survivors, clever in their way, but ultimately too soft for serious military consideration. Sarah had endured a year of whispered doubts and barely concealed mockery. Her test scores were exemplary, her tactical analyses brilliant, but physical prowess was still considered the ultimate measure of military potential. Today she would show them what a soft human could do. Kuldar raised all 4 arms, his bone spurs gleaming. "I will make this quick, little soft skin. Your kind should stick to engineering and logistics." The combat referee, a floating sphere of pure energy, announced the commencement. Combat Trial 77 Alpha. Standard Academy rules. Surrender, unconsciousness, or incapacitation constitutes defeat. Medical team standing by. Begin. Kuldar charged immediately, his massive form covering the distance with surprising speed. His forearms swept in coordinated strikes designed to overwhelm and crush. The crowd leaned forward, expecting to witness a brief but decisive victory. Sarah didn't move until the last possible second. When she did, it was with a fluid grace that seemed to defy physics. She dropped low, sliding between Kuldar's legs as his strikes whistled through empty air. In one seamless motion, she pivoted and struck upward with her palm, connecting with a specific point on the champion's lower torso. The sound was like thunder. Kuldar's charge became a stumble, then a collapse. His legs gave out as if someone had cut his puppet strings, sending 3 meters of predatory evolution crashing to the deck with a sound like falling boulders. He tried to rise, his forearms scrabbling for purchase, but his legs refused to obey. The bone spurs that had intimidated opponents across the galaxy now scraped uselessly against the floor. The entire arena fell silent. Sarah stood over the fallen champion, not even breathing hard. "Pressure point strike to the major nerve cluster," she said calmly, her voice carrying in the stunned quiet. "Your species has the same basic neural architecture as Earth crustaceans. Temporary paralysis, no permanent damage. He'll be fine in about 10 minutes. Professor Yilnara's form pulsed with shocked bioluminescence. "Impossible. How could she know our anatomical databases better than our own medical staff?" Commandant Thexmore stepped into the ring, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focused on the human. "Cadet Chen, explain your methodology." Sarah's expression remained professional, but there was steel in her voice. "Sir, Earth didn't just produce one dominant species. We competed with everything from microscopic viruses to multi-ton predators. We learned to be precise because brute force wasn't always an option. Every Earth child learns basic anatomy, pressure points, leverage mechanics. It's survival education." She gestured to the still paralyzed Kuldar. The champion is incredibly strong, incredibly fast, and incredibly tough. But he's also incredibly predictable. His people evolved to fight large, powerful enemies with straightforward attacks. He's never faced an opponent who studied his weaknesses before the fight even began. Zextai's mandibles clicked nervously. You studied all of us? Sarah's smile was small but fierce. Every species in this academy. Every anatomical advantage, every cultural combat doctrine. Every evolutionary pressure point. On Earth, we call it homework. The medical team finally arrived, their anti-grav stretchers humming as they lifted Kuldar's massive form. The champion was conscious now, his compound eyes focusing on Sarah with something between respect and bewilderment. How? He rumbled, his voice carrying the confusion of the utterly defeated. Because, Sarah said, helping guide the stretcher. My homeworld taught me that size and strength mean nothing if you don't understand your opponent. We didn't become Earth's apex predator by being the strongest or the fastest. We became apex predators by being the smartest. As the crowd dispersed, alien cadets casting new, calculating glances at the small human in their midst. Commandant Thexmore approached Sarah. His cybernetic implants glowed softly in the arena's dimming light. Cadet Chen, he said, his tone carrying newfound respect. I believe we may have underestimated your species' potential for tactical warfare. Sarah straightened to attention. Sir, with respect, you've underestimated what it means to come from a world where everything is trying to kill you. We didn't just survive Earth, we conquered it. And we did it with our brains, not our brawn. The Commandant's laugh was like grinding metal. Indeed. I think it's time the Academy developed some new training protocols, ones that account for human methodology. As Sarah walked back to her quarters, she could feel the change in the air around her. The whispers had stopped. The dismissive glances had been replaced by wary respect. Tomorrow, she knew, everything would be different. After all, they had finally learned what every human child knew from birth. It's not the size of the predator in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the predator. And humans had been fighting their entire evolutionary existence.